Hey everyone, it's Kadesha, Samantha, and Sandy, and we're back with another fun episode on the Deeper Than Tech podcast, where we talk about how to grow your career in an industry that was not designed with us in mind. Today's topic is dealing with loneliness as a developer. We'll be diving deep into this topic, but before we do, if you're loving our podcast so far, we'd appreciate it if you shared it with a friend or coworker. You can also tag us on social media to let us know that you're actively listening, and we've been loving hearing from you and the great feedback you've been giving us. Please take a chance to also rate us and leave us, like a rating and a comment on the podcasting platforms. We'd really appreciate that. Welcome back. So let's get right into talking about being lonely as a developer. I know a lot of times I primarily work alone. So it's just me in my living room at my little table in the corner. And a lot of times I don't have a lot of engagement with other people. What is your day like, Sandy? How is your day structured in terms of working with others and feeling kind of lonely as a dev?
Just given the pandemic environment, I'm isolated by my setting. So I typically don't really communicate often unless it's lunchtime or unless I'm stuck on an issue at work. Then I have some coworkers that I can ping and ask for help if need be. But that's the only time I really see myself interacting, and that sucks. But I really feel again, it's the environment, it's being in this pandemic, it's just thrown everything out of whack for me personally.
Interesting. What about you, Samantha?
So I tend to start my day kind of by myself. We do have these recurring meetings where it's stand up and sprint retro. But for the most part, I actually enjoy not having a ton of meetings and kind of being by myself. I'm a weirdo. I'm a loner. But it still allows me to just be able to focus on my work and get whatever I need to get done quickly so I could just get out and go do my personal stuff.
Yeah. I find that for me, it's we have so many meetings. I could have up to 5 to 6 meetings in one day. And because it's a meeting, it's not very sociable and there isn't really a lot of time to get to know each other. So it's very business oriented. And that to me is so exhausting. And I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like all the meetings. I wish I had more time in the day to actually focus on work, and it's something that the team is trying to figure out. But in terms of feeling lonely and feeling like you don't have anyone to talk to, what does that look like for you? Do you feel that way, or do you experience those feelings? How do you kind of deal with that, Samantha?
So we have this group called Surreys. It's a bunch of Black female engineers, as long as non-gender engineers, who come together and we talk about our feelings per se as a group. I think this is a great outlet for me because we all deal with the kind of the same issues. So for me, that's a way for me to get an outlet. We also have just Slack. I communicate a lot typing. If I ever need to talk to somebody, there's these things called office hours that we have. So I could just randomly schedule time to talk with random people. But I don't know. I feel like I'm not that lonely. So
Samantha's Kadesha, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's fine.
I think for me, it means just feeling isolated and not connected to people while working, and also not feeling like I don't have anybody to turn to, which I guess I don't feel that way. So maybe I'm not lonely. I don't know what I'm talking about. How about you, Sandy?
Well, I guess sometimes I do feel lonely as a developer. I think it could also be related to the different levels on your team. What if you're the only junior one and then everyone else on your team is senior? I feel like you could feel lonely because what you struggle with is not what everyone else struggles with. And it can sometimes feel like you're a noob, even though you're not. But it's just that there are people with more experience on the team and you have to work your way up there. So I feel like there's certain ways where I can actually feel loneliness as a dev. And I have to just remind myself, it's just practice and preparation that'll get me to the next level. But, I'm still a beginner, and it's okay to, be in that space as a beginner.
Absolutely. I 100% agree to that. And that leads me into my next question. It's just is it really loneliness, or is it a lack of confidence shrouded in loneliness? What do you think about it? Are we really lonely as developers, or do we just feel not confident in our skills as developers? I don't know. I know I am not confident in my skill as a dev, and that's something I'm actively working on improving.
Well, we have to think about, as humans, we're very social creatures. So when we are by ourselves be very hard. And we used to have this environment where we go into the office, and that's like 40 hours a week that you're like hanging out with a bunch of people. And that was like stripped away from us when the pandemic started. And so like having to adjust from that time period to now, like at the beginning, probably I was still lonely. I'm like, I'm not used to just being at home all day. I needed some fresh air. But now that I'm used to this pandemic life or this remote life, it's becoming a lot easier to know, hey, I have outside friends outside of work that I can reach out to when I'm lonely. I just don't have to have as much bonding time with my coworkers. Like a lot of my coworkers I have never met in person. So it is kind of strange. So they don't really understand my working style. So that is one thing that I personally would have to deal with, is like make sure that we're on the same page, even though we've never seen each other in person.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think also with being in these pandemic remote times, we also have to be a lot more intentional about reaching out to people and staying connected. It's like we can't expect to just walk in and just see people. We have to be like intentionally say, hey, so-and-so, do you want to connect online and, have a conversation? I think that can also be a little daunting for people who feel lonely at work or even in life. What do you think, Sandy?
I'm going back to the question where you were talking about loneliness in terms of skills. I think that kind of ties into like imposter syndrome, where that can kind of be an isolating feeling. But I tend to just remember that everyone experiences this, It's not unique to any engineer. It's something you're going to go through when you're beginner, when you're mid, when you're senior, right? Because there's always more growth. So I tend to, when I'm in that space where I'm feeling lonely or feeling like I'm the only one, I tend to just remember that I'm not. It's kind of like your mind playing tricks on you, but it's like everyone goes through it at any stage, at any level. So just keep that in mind.
And do you have any resources, or have you started using anything that has kind of improved your life during the pandemic and make you a little bit more lonely and more connected to people? I know for me personally, I started sharing a lot more content online. And so like I've met so many amazing people online and been connected to all these wonderful people and resources, and being able to like get in touch with and do events have been great to keep me busy. What resources have improved your life during this whole pandemic remote life?
I joined an organization called DevColor. And that organization has allowed me to network with other engineers from different companies and kind of get that social aspect out there. At my job, since we did come remote, we started leaning more into like happy hours and like having things like fun days, or you just spend one day doing something with your family, going to a beach, anything but work. So they've been trying to improve.
Yeah, I love that.
Right? They've been trying to incorporate certain things to improve the culture of the overall company, because they know that we used to thrive in person and the remote kind of set us out of whack. So they're trying to counteract that with these fun activities and happy hours.
I love that. I think I'm gonna make that a suggestion for my team. Be like, we need happy hours or something, because working it can become mundane. It's just like I feel like all I do now is work. I just work and I sleep and I eat and I work.
Have you seen that meme? They're in bed, they roll out, sit on the chair, they type on their computer, close it, go back. It's something that went viral, but yeah, that's what I thought of when you said that.
Pretty much. I mean, that's life. You come, you open your laptop, you work, you sit on the couch, you watch TV, you eat something, you go back, you go to sleep, and you do it all over again. What do you think, Samantha? Like, have you found any resources or have any resources that have helped to improve your life during the pandemic or to like alleviate loneliness?
Not per se, but I do want to bring up something that Sandy said just maybe a few seconds ago about how her company does all these fun stuff. My company does as well, but I think I did some research on why companies are wanting people to come back to the office. And I thought it was super interesting because it's about loyalty. Like, people are actually less productive in the office, but they have a longevity with the company when they have this company culture. And I feel like with remote work, we do lose a little bit of culture, but people are more productive. So how do companies like battle this? I'm thinking some companies want to do like a hybrid method. Like some people who like thrive working from home will probably stay remote, but some people who thrive in the company culture and love the loyalty and love the fun things that you have at your job will probably go back into the office. I don't have any resource of like how I stay less lonely, if at all lonely, but if y'all do, I would love to listen.
Samantha's like, I'm good. That's good though. I'm happy that you don't experience loneliness or, like isolation, because it's not a good feeling at all. especially as a developer, because you have to constantly be open and willing to ask for help and accept feedback. So it's like we have to, collaborate all the time. So if you feel lonely and insecure, it's not going to be like a good combination because you're not going to really reach out for help. Cool beans. So like, how can people who do feel lonely, I guess, work through that loneliness? I think one thing that's important to do is to always reach out for help, whether that be mental help or coding help. Always reach out for the help that you need and never be afraid to ask for what you want for. I think something else that is important to do is to take breaks. Does your teams encourage breaks or like pausing or like not working? Like, what does that look like for you both?
My team actually does encourage breaks, but it's like they say take breaks, they say, don't work on the weekends, but you see certain people still working on the weekends and like not taking breaks. So it's like do as I say, but not as I do sometimes. So it's like, which narrative do you follow? Because sometimes when you do work on the weekend, it is celebrated later on because we did meet the feature, we did meet the deadline, or right. So it's kind of hard to figure out which narrative to follow.
Yeah, that can be tough. But I have a personal policy. I do not work on the weekends because like in my head, I am not a tech lead. I'm not a manager. I am not like in the senior leadership. So there's nothing that I can do that's going to solve the problem and make it move faster. I have my personal policy is no work on the weekends. That's a boundary I set really hard. How about you, Samantha?
Another thing that we do is no meeting Fridays. It doesn't help with the loneliness, but at least it'll give you the time, the space to like catch up on your work. Is not having meetings on Friday. Sometimes my team, we will do like, hey, don't work for like 3 days. Like you'll still be online. Like if you have like outside team meetings, still do those. But if you have actually teamwork, we're just going to pause this for a little bit. I really enjoy those types. That's usually after like a really large project and we're like trying to hit a deadline and we're like pushing really hard. It doesn't happen very often. But another thing that I like that we do is just like, we do have like team outings. Like we do like a wine tasting day. Those are always fun. So there's things that the company does that's helpful to like keep your mental health all right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And of course, it's good to code in your spare time because it keeps your skills sharp, but it's also good to have like a hobby outside of coding because that makes you a well-rounded person. And
ooh, I like the way you said that.
It can make you a well-rounded person, and it can also if you have different interests, you can meet different people and you can join different online groups or like even offline groups now that everything is starting to open up again. And that can help to alleviate loneliness and, build those connections with other people. So get a hobby. Drink water, eat fries. If you need to cry, and just, get back to when you need to. But yeah, I think that's all I have for this topic today. What do you guys think? Do you have anything else to say?
I had something, but it went away. But if I, think about it, I'll let y'all know in the comments.
Just know if you're listening and you do feel lonely, know that you're not alone. And some ways to deal with it is to join a group. There's this awesome group called Year One, and it's specifically created for newer developers. And they have like peer mentorship meetings, and you get to meet and connect with other people. So like if you need to join a group, you can join that group. Find a hobby and stay active. Always drink water and always ask for help if you need to. Like try not to stay isolated within yourself because the dev community is super helpful. But yeah, that's all we have for today on this episode. Hope it was a good one for you, and thanks so much for listening. Bye.